Today we're going to go matchup by matchup and look for those sneaky starts in fantasy football. Those guys that can surprise us. Those guys who could exceed expectations. And this is for those guys in deep leagues who are just finding someone to start for their lineup this week. Those guys who are in a fantasy league where their lineup's just decimated. Injuries, bye weeks, don't know what to do. They just want to gamble on something. We're going matchup by matchup, game by game, trying to find one random jabroni to look at that could surprise us. Most of these players should not hit. If a lot of them hit, that means I did not go deep enough. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're going hard in the paint every day. We're looking at the waiver wire. We're doing deep dives multiple times a day. We're looking at the practice clips of those guys coming back from injury. On top of that, we're using these videos like today to help you set your lineups. Click that button right now. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. Do not disappoint Ric Flair. But our first player today, our first matchup is Kayshon Boutte against the Jaguars. He got some run last week. He caught a touchdown. He's looking good in the practice clips this week. Maybe we can hit. We got a 42 over-under. Teams are scoring on the Jaguars. It's a low-volume passing offense, but Drake May is there. Drake May could push it to him. Kayshon Boutte at one time was considered one of the top wide receivers in college football and a potential first-round draft pick, but fell. He had an ankle injury, and his career just plummeted. And now we're trying to claw our way back up at the NFL level. And the fact that we're still with the Patriots, the fact that we scored a touchdown last week and we're climbing in the snap share is a good thing for Kayshon Boutte. This is a prospect to pay attention to. Deep leagues, maybe even traditional leagues, because he is a very talented wide receiver. Chandler. Aaron Jones is back. He's returned to practicing. We're expecting him to be good to go. However, he's returning from an injury. Chandler wins a 4-3. We're in a matchup here with a 50.5 over-under against the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams can move to football. He could pop one. That's what we're looking at here. Maybe you could pop one. I do not see him getting a ton of opportunities. He can push 8 to 10 opportunities in this matchup between carries and targets. That being said, all he has to do is find space and pop 1 or 2 runs, and he could be okay in fantasy football. Dalton, Schultz against the Packers. Nico Collins is out. Targets got to funnel somewhere. And I look for Dalton Schultz to get some targets here. He's actually been very solid in targets for a tight end. He's just been kind of underrated with the fantasy production. Last 3 weeks, decent production. 10 points, 12 points, 10 points. And then targets since week 3. 5, 6, and 8. We're going to see the targets get a little bit more elevated, a little bit more consistent here with Nico Collins out. This is going to be fun to watch with Dalton Schultz. Could be a cheap pickup for you this week. Keon Coleman, because Keon Coleman has this ability like almost every other game or once every 3 games to splash with a random play, and that's just how it works with Keon Coleman. And you're looking at this offense, they're going to try and put in Amari Cooper. They're going to see what's going to happen with that. They're going to see if they can get some series installed with him. Keon Coleman around the boundary, contested catches downfield. If he brings in a deep ball, that could be huge for him. He's getting some run in the offense. 64% snap share last week, 62 the week prior, 73 the week before. Again, there are games where he's silent, but we had our silent game last week. It's not a great matchup against the Titans. That's why he's a sneaky start, not a must start. But the Browns lost Amari Cooper. Everybody's looking at David Njoku. God bless the Chief. On top of that, they are looking at Jerry Jeudy. But Elijah Moore, starting off the season, was getting a lot of snaps. Week 1, 93% snap share. Getting a lot of targets. Things dissipate a little bit. But now Amari Cooper's gone. Targets got to go somewhere. Elijah Moore's moved around the offense. He was banged up with a rib injury. He's good to go right now. Look for him to get more snaps. Look for him to run more routes compared to the last couple weeks. Look for him to get some opportunity. That could happen. He could be a surprise play in your lineups. Grant Calcaterra, because Goddard's more likely going to be out, and he's good. He's a solid prospect. At one time, he was considered one of the top tight ends in all of college football. Had some head injuries, almost retired, then transferred to SMU, dug his way back up, became a good prospect for the NFL, and now we're to this point where he's got the opportunity to prove himself against the New York Football Giants here with a 42.5 over-under. A good defense for a player like him to accidentally produce in the box score. Ray McCloud, because when you look at both these teams, we know where the targets could go for Seattle. We know the top targets for the Falcons. We know the running backs for both teams. Nothing's really there as a surprise. Ray McCloud's not really a surprise, but he's getting funneled some targets. Most games is getting 5+ targets. There's a couple downers, and it's usually like 3 or 4. That being said, we got 4 targets last week. We should push to 5 or 6 this week, if not more, and it's a 51 over-under. We should expect fireworks in this matchup. Ray McCloud could be a sneaky bet. Rostered in just 26% of leagues on Sleeper. Raheem Mostert. Davante looks like he's going to be back. Everyone's looking at Jalen Wright. Mostert came back against New England in week 5. 80 rushing yards, catching 2 balls, so he's getting some workload there. He could be a surprise option for you in fantasy football. Xavier Legette, because honestly, he's getting run in the offense. He's very spiky. 51.5 over-under. I like Andy Dalton in this matchup. Xavier Legette around the goal line is tough to stop due to his size, 230 pounds almost. Runs in the 4.3s. Maybe he gets a touchdown in this one. Blake Corum, because we're going up against the Raiders. Running backs play well against the Raiders. Kyron Williams is getting a lot of work. They're coming off a bye, though. And the ancillary running back on any team could score a few extra points against the Raiders. They could allow him to get a little extra run. He did last time with 5 carries in week 5. That being said, Blake Corum could sneak up on you and be the top waiver wire get. Jauan Jennings, honestly, everything's concentrated in this matchup. You know where the ball's going with the Niners. You know where it's going with the Chiefs. I could say Justin Watson, but every time with the Chiefs, I usually say that. But Jennings could get some quick targets in this matchup, some short underneath stuff, maybe get 5 or 6 targets, and let's see if that could turn into fantasy production. Davante Adams. I just want to put him in as a sneaky start, honestly, and this is the opportunity to do so. We're on the Jets. We're new on the team. We're going up against the Steelers. A lot of things going against them here in week 7, but it's sneaky. He could just come up and flash right away with Aaron Rodgers. Am I recommending it? Obviously, he's in a sneaky start video, so it's not really a recommendation. But if you want to get jiggy with it, go with it. Sean Tucker, because last week he hits, and he could be a hitter again this week. That could happen. Rachaad White could be back. We're looking at a potential 3-headed monster here. But this is my favorite head of the monster. I like the Bucky Irvin head too. But still, he could be a surprise play. Kimani Vidal, he did not get that many touches last week. There's 6 opportunities. He just splashed on that touchdown. But he's hella explosive. We're going up against the Cardinals. J.K. Dobbins got way too many touches last week. They're going to look at that and figure things out. Kimani Vidal's probably going to get some work and could be another splash play for you in fantasy football. But those are the sneaky starts for week 7. Who's that jabroni you got to start this week? I want to hear about it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.